My headline for this particular story is that Fredo sleeps with the fishes. What I mean by this is that Chris Cuomo has been fired by CNN. And this is, well, it's fantastic news. It's also a little bit of a surprise. Why? Because evidently CNN has standards. Now, these might not really be intellectual standards, and they certainly don't have moral standards, and clearly CNN has very low standards, but I think the surprise is that they have standards at all. And they've decided that enough is enough with Chris Cuomo. Now, the Babylon Bee is kind of a funny headline here. Unemployment rate among Cuomo brothers now rises to 100%. Basically, both members of the Corleone, or should I say Cuomo family, are now effectively unemployed. And the reason I say this is good news, I mean, I don't normally revel in other people's misfortune, but I mean, I just think back to the disgustingly, masturbatory scenes between the two brothers on TV, just basically, just obscene. Here's a little clip that will remind you of the kind of nauseating CNN content I'm talking about. Listen.
Let me ask you something. With all of this adulation that you're getting for doing your job, are you thinking about running for president? Tell the audience.
No.
No, you won't answer?
No, I answered. The answer is no.
No, you're not thinking about it?
Sometimes it's one word. I said no.
Have you thought about it?
No.
This just enough to bring your stomach churning, and just disgusting, Now, the funny thing was I also was both revolted and amused by the Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm talking here about Brian Stelter, who's at CNN, but he does this little segment in which he acts like he's a crack reporter. And he's really investigating the factors that led to Chris Cuomo's termination. I mean, this would be like me, I'd like to make some reporting about some details on the podcast. I've interviewed Dinesh D'Souza. I've interviewed Rohan behind the camera. What I'm getting at is that Pillsbury Doughboy is like running down the hall, talking to a couple of guys and going, this is what I've been able to find out. I'm still waiting for my calls to be returned by management. I mean, absolutely laughable nonsense from this guy, riveting journalism by a crack reporter. Trump, of course, is all over this, and he goes, the big question is, was this because of the horrendous ratings at CNN, which in all fairness have permeated CNN and MSDNC, or was it because his brother's no longer governor? He goes, probably both. So this is Trump, basically. Now, interestingly, there's apparently a sexual allegation against Chris Cuomo. And CNN has been notified about it. Remember Deborah Katz? She was the woman who represented Christine Blasey Ford. Well, she's representing some woman that evidently has made a complaint against Chris Cuomo. And but the ostensible reason for Cuomo's firing is not that. At least I don't think. It's that Cuomo was much more actively involved than previously known in seeking to expose, humiliate, and discredit the accusers of his brother. At one point, for example, he's texting this woman named Melissa DeRosa, chief of staff for Governor Cuomo, and Chris Cuomo goes, please let me help you with the prep. So he's actually part of the strategy team. At another point, Andrew Cuomo is accused of attempting to forcibly kiss this woman named Anna Rutch. And Chris Cuomo texts DeRosa, I've got a lead on the wedding girl. So he's apparently tapping his news sources to try to find out information, probably damaging information. So I think when Jeff Zucker, the head of CNN, found out about this, he was like, well, you didn't really fess up, Chris. You told us that you kind of were, doing the family duty in helping your brother, but the extent of your involvement, you kind of kept on the down low. So now the funny thing about this, of course, is that, Chris Cuomo's gone, but I mean, CNN is full of all these suspect characters, right? I mean, Chris Cuomo's hardly the only one. You have Jeff Toobin. I mean, here's a guy, strumming his human guitar, somewhere over the rain on a Zoom, someone's up on a Zoom call. And then, of course, there's Don Lemon, and Don Lemon has also been accused of gay sexual harassment. So you've got You got Lemon, you got Tubin, you got Chris Cuomo. It probably doesn't even stop there. So this is a network that's in a tailspin. And I've got more to report about this, but I'm going to save it till maybe tomorrow. There's a possibility, and this would be just a delicious possibility, that CNN itself, I don't mean that the network is going to be dissolved, but rather that there's going to be like mass firings at CNN, in which case the Cuomo situation will just be the beginning, but this will be a kind of house cleanup that might even include one Jeff Zucker.